How you doing, guys? Today I am working on the Rugg. I'm looking to take the axle out of this, the rear axle that is, out of the tractor. There appears to be some fair amount of play in this hub compared to the axle, and the other side has a bunch of play too. I have this donor frame from another Rugg, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tearing this axle out just to learn how to take it all apart. Also, this hub, the bolt was in it when I started. I just took the bolt out. It's nice and solid. This one doesn't rock around on the shaft. This one does rock around a little bit on the shaft, but that's because there's teeth that engage. And we'll take a look at that once we tear it all apart. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the 5/16 bolts that hold the two cast iron brackets in place. I happen to have another one. This is the bracket that goes on the differential side. I just brought it out so I can take a look at it to see if I could find or see anything that needs to figure out how to take it off. This one here goes, this is the stationary one, or the one that just holds the other side, I guess, if you want to call it. It's just got a bronze bushing in the center of it. But I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts, lift this whole unit up out of the frame, and put it on the workbench. With the axle up here on the workbench, I can now kind of see how this is put together. I did knock out the roll pin. There was this washer, and then there was a roll pin that kept the axle from walking in this direction. So, and then the bolt that held the hub on kept it from walking that direction. So with the washer out of the way, the roll pin out of the way, I can slide this back, get it out of the way. This is another washer. Slide this back. I went ahead and tapped it with the hammer using my vise to keep the axle from moving. And I'm able to get highly recommend that you don't use this kind of hammer on the cast iron, but that's what I had right now. And I can push that in. I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of sandpaper, take this rust off the end of the shaft, and all this stuff should slide right off. And then we can start looking at what's going on in the differential. With the non-differential side all taken apart, came off the axle no problem. We have the hub, a washer, the bracket, another washer, and then there's a tiny roll pin that holds from it going in this direction. As I said, there's a bolt that holds it from going that direction. So that's all set. Now on the differential side, there is a roll pin. I knocked it out. So I should be able to just kind of take all this stuff off. So here's another washer. I'm trying to do this with one hand. I don't know if this hub's going to... Oh, no, there's the hub. There's the hub. There's the interlocking piece to the differential piece. So let me get this all apart and we'll take a look at what we got. And there it is. It was actually really, really easy. Once I took that roll pin off, everything just slid right off. No problems. Washer, hub. This is one side of the differential. This is one of the, that's the spider gear, but this is an axle gear. You can see there's just like a 3-tooth chuck here, which integrates or interlocks with those three. This is the drive gear. There's the little pinion gears. There's two. And what's interesting is the bolts that hold the ring gear on actually hold the pins for the spider gears from falling out. So to get the spider gears out, I got to take these bolts off, and then I can slide the pins out, and then the little spider gears will come out. This is the opposing side. This is the side that was actually drift pinned into place, and then the opposing side of the axle. One thing I did notice is that some of these holes are not quite round. They've been beat up over the years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pull the axle out of the green tractor and basically take it apart, just like I showed you I took this one apart. And I'm going to go through each and every single piece, see which ones are better. In other words, maybe the gear on this tractor is better than that one. Maybe one of the 4 spider gears I have is the best. You know what I mean? Go through and find all of the best parts that I have in order to put one axle back together. So let me go ahead, break this down, inspect the parts, and pick and choose the best ones. We'll talk it over, and then we'll put the axle back together. The green axle is out, it's disassembled, and surprisingly, there is a lot more wear on this axle. And if you run your finger across this, you can feel divots, you know, like pseudo lathe marks on it. Compared to the other one, this is the same end. It's the same end, the differential end. You know, there's really nothing. So I'm probably going to use the axle from the orange machine. I'm actually think I'm going to use pretty much all the parts from the orange machine, because these spider gears are much more worn looking than these. I'd like to use this housing because it's green and matches the tractor, but I might clean it all up and swap out the I'll probably use this ring gear, but swap out the spider gears. This looks pretty good. I'm hoping to use the green brackets. I don't want to use the orange brackets. What else? No, I'm not even going to take this gear off. I'm just going to leave this one on. So I'll just use the one from the orange outside. Oh, interesting thing here is this one had a roll pin which held the non-differential side in place. The green one has a cotter pin. Sorry about that. I sneezed. So in general, I got a lot of parts. I even have a couple, well, another differential side right there. I'll check that one, see if that's where I'm actually going to try to get that out of the bracket itself. And then we'll go from there. And then I'll start cleaning up all the bits and pieces, find the ones that are the best, obviously, clean them, and then we'll reassemble it. But I just thought that was interesting just to show you the difference in the wear and tear and design. With the bulk of the parts run through the parts washer, or these are the parts that I'm going to use. I went ahead and the other parts that I'm not using, I just threw them back together real quick to put it on the second frame that I have. One thing I did do is on the differential side, there's two bushings in this housing. They're 1.5 inches outer diameter, 1 1/4 inner diameter, and they actually kind of look like this. Now the interesting thing is I measured these and I said to myself, oh, I'll just get 2 new bushings. Well, I ordered them. It's like $28 for the stupid bushings with shipping. I come in here to find a bolt, and what do I have? Can you believe it? I already have one. I don't know. That's what I do all the time. I don't check my stock before I do something, but gonna just go ahead and finish up cleaning this up, getting things ready to go, and let's start reassembling. The bushings arrived, and in order to get them to fit real nice, I just used my little brake hone here on my drill just to hone the inside of the bushing to just dial it in so it fits nearly perfectly. Very little play. It just fits real nice. I'm going to see if this one goes on for you. If it goes on, this one here I think is just a little bit tighter than the other one, so it gets to be a little bit more difficult with one hand, but you get the picture. Next is to go ahead and press these, or I got to cut them to size because they're both a little taller than the original. So I'll go ahead and cut those to size, and then I'll press them into the housing itself. I'll recheck the fit. I may have to run the brake hone lightly in and out of it just to make them, because when you press these, thank you Mr. Harley, when you press these into the housing, they do shrink just a hair. So let me cut these to size, get them installed. We'll adjust the fit, and we're ready to put the axle back together. So after some cutting, I didn't even have to hone it. Pressed it in with my little Dake press and a little WD-40 to lube it up. The bushing is installed, and it spins mint, and there's almost no play in that. So I am super stoked on how that fits and feels. So this is basically a new part. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling the pieces out here so we can start putting the axle physically back together. As I was laying this out to put it back together, I noticed that the bushing on the opposing side was pretty worn out, and there was some flop with the axle. So I Went ahead and replaced that bushing same exact way as I did the differential side. Just, you know, got the right bushing, made sure it fit right. The other thing too is I noticed that there's a lot of play in these spider gears. They wobble around a lot. So ran over to the hardware store, got a small little bronze washer or a thrust bearing, if you would. It's a 1/4 inch, so I have to file it out to 5/16 so it fits nice. And I've already done one. It's right there, and it makes a huge difference. This gear is not nearly as floppy, and you know, it spins nice. One of the other things I noticed that this spider gear is not quite as good as I anticipated or I remember. So I'm going to go over to the other differential I have and check those spider gears, and if there's a better spider gear, I'll just pull the bolt out that holds the ring gear in place and get the pin out and get the gear out, and then we'll do a swap-a-roo. Looking over the second axle I have, the spider gears in this one are actually worse than the ones I have, so not going to use them. One thing I am doing right now is just shimming the axle. So this piece, the center, the actual solid rod of the axle, it doesn't travel back and forth within the holders, or the axle stays, if you want to call it. Because what happens when that thing goes back and forth, and I'm not going to be able to do it, I don't think, it opens and closes the two gears, the two axle gears on the spider gears. So you end up with like a lot of play. See? End up with a lot of play. What I want to do is I want to shim the axle, not tight, but there's no side-to-side play. And to do that, I have loosely affixed the axle back into the tractor, the axle system that I'm going to use, and I started to shim it. I added a couple shim washers to this end. The roll pin will go in and hold that in place. That holds the hub tight up against the tooth cog. It also pushes, this gear is pinned in with the roll pin, and then when you grab it, there's no side-to-side play. So I know that this is going to hold just fine. On the other side, the hub is actually held in by the bolt, so that's not going to move. It's right up against this stay, but if we take a look at this washer, there's a lot of play in this washer to the roll pin, which holds this whole system together. So I just need to go find a couple bronze. I got some bronze 3/4 inch bushings somewhere. I'll find one that fits, or sand one that fits, and then the axle will be completely shimmed. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that shim, I'm going to clean everything up, put it all together, and show you the finished product. And there it is, all reassembled. Is it refurbished or is it rebuilt? All the wear items have been replaced. And I went so far as to dialing it in by shimming the axle, shimming the stands, shimming the differential and the spider gears so everything moves and articulates just the way it was designed. Probably, should I be so bold to say, better than when it was designed. It actuates really smooth, so I'm really looking forward to getting this back in the tractor. I'll do that once the frame is cleaned and we are ready to actually take a ride on this thing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Please like, share, and subscribe, and if you could ring the bell so that way the next Rugg Resurrection video comes up, you get notified of it. And as always, be prepared. The next project is the motor. Have a great day.